Good evening, Bahamas. Coming up tonight.
More than 100 Grand Lucayan employees take VSAP packages.
The BPSU president speaks out about post office workers going to Town Center Mall.
Our News is brought to you by Alive.
Welcome to Our News, and thanks for joining us. I'm Kyle Joaquin. 1 month after government took responsibility for staff at the Grand Lucayan Resort in Grand Bahama, 150 of those employees have applied for voluntary separation packages offered by Lucayan Renewal Holdings Limited. The current owner says it intends to work closely with employees, union representations, and lawyers to agree on payout amounts and severance dates, which are expected to begin at the end of this month or early November. Jasmine Brown reports.
Officials revealing the details in a statement that was sent out today as they outline the numbers and the process. According to the statement, approximately 60 management staff and 90 line staff and casual workers applied for the VSAPs. As a result, it reduced the current employee number to approximately 303, which officials say more closely aligns with the staff complement required to service a 196-room hotel, the Lighthouse Point. Chairman of the Bahamas Hotel Corporation and Grand Lucayan Resort and Casino, Michael Scott, in a statement, explained the decision behind offering the VSAPs. He said, "Severance is usually the obligation of the seller, not the purchaser, but in this instance, given the historically difficult relationship with Hutchison, the government opted to exercise the principle of parent of the nation as protector of its citizens' rights, of those who would be unable to protect themselves." He added, "The key word here is voluntary. We are not laying off anyone or making anyone redundant or firing staff. We are simply providing the option for anyone who wishes to do so to sever their employment with the Grand Lucayan, as many have indeed expressed a wish to move on." The government is purchasing Grand Lucayan from Hutchison for $65 million. The Minister's administration got parliamentary approval last month to borrow the balance, which will be a government-guaranteed mortgage paid over 3.5 years. The opposition has labeled it an egregiously bad deal. Today, PLP Chairman Fred Mitchell told our news team he isn't surprised some employees are jumping ship.
I don't think anybody's surprised because there is a lack of confidence in the government and what they propose to do with the hotel. I think no one has a clear notion of what is to happen. What this all comes off is people are voting with their feet. They know that there's no plan, and so what they want to do is cash in while the going's good, and you can't blame them.
The Minister's administration has insisted that it does not want to be in the hotel business for long, and government intends to quickly sell the Grand Bahama property to a private buyer. After wrapping up a tour of the shuttered property in late August, Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis told the press that the government was only holding the hotel to preserve the island's economy. Mitchell reiterated the PLP's doubts over the government's expectations.
I've just spent the last couple of days in Freeport, and I get a sense of despair. The announcement to purchase the hotel has not lifted people's spirits in any way.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Jasmine Brown.
All right, thanks, Jasmine. Well, a local contractor is tonight speaking out on government's decision to rent Town Center Mall as a temporary site for the General Post Office. He says his company began the pricey process of major renovations to his building in anticipation of housing the post office, only to be met with stony silence from the Minister's administration. Now, he says there are more questions than answers.
The building is just sitting there, and it's because of them. I didn't go to them, chase them to demolish my building or to renovate the building. They came to me.
Scott Gadet and his company LaGrange Investments Bahamas owns the Independence Shopping Center. It's the complex that housed the old City Market food store and the one that was initially being looked at to house the General Post Office.
We had entered into PPP, Public-Private Partnership Agreement, with the government. And that PPP called for the government to put in 20% of the development cost. And I would, or my company would then finance the balance of the development. The balance of that development would then be paid back over 8 years, at the end of which the government would own the property.
But after nearby residents complained that a thoroughfare would be blocked off, plans by the previous government were put on hold. And then the Minnis administration rolled in.
Basically, I've heard through the media that they found other locations.
They haven't told you.
They never said to me, and they still haven't said to me that they have found another location, but I've read it in the paper, so I assume that that is true.
So after gutting his building and beginning the renovation process for government, only to receive no formal communication that another location for the post office had been chosen, Cadet said he was finally able to meet with various government entities and was asked to provide several options. Move on with a public-private partnership as written, repurpose the PPP where it wouldn't be the post office but another government building, or reconstruct the building.
Put my building back in order, pay me for loss of income over the period that the building has been closed, and let me go on having a shopping center. And the fourth option is buy the building as is and pay me for my loss of income.
Concern arose last week after it was revealed government would be renting a portion of Town Center Mall, partially owned by Brent Simonet, a cabinet minister. Government has since said Town Center Mall provided the best value option. But Cadet says he has many questions for which there have been no answers.
I don't know what the deal is with what the government will end up paying the Town Center Mall, or how much they're going to have to invest in the renovation of the mall, how much they're going to have to at the end of the day pay, as far as they say it's $12 a square foot, but how many square feet are they actually going to be using? So my opinion, it's always better to own than to rent.
Well, despite controversy surrounding government's decision to rent Town Center Mall, Bahamas Public Service Union President Kingsley Ferguson says he's not concerned about claims of a conflict of interest. He told our news his concern is the health and safety of his members who have suffered in the current location of the General Post Office for far too long. Jillian Gray has that.
As government pushes ahead with its plan to house post office workers at Town Center Mall, BPSU President Kingsley Ferguson said he's not concerned with any conflict of interest. His only concern is getting workers out of those health hazardous conditions.
The fact that the building is owned, or there is a cabinet minister that may have shares to some extent in that particular entity, is really, really not a concern for the union. The concern for the union is that our members are in a safe and a healthy environment.
The opposition has called the Minnis administration's decision to rent Town Center Mall, which Cabinet Minister Brent Simonet has shares in, a naked conflict of interest. However, the BPSU president said he's not getting involved in politics, insisting it wouldn't be the first time concerns have been raised about conflicts of interest.
There have been buildings known to be owned by persons of previous administrations where it was a difficulty in identifying buildings. We're going to leave the politicking to the politicians, and the unions is going to represent its constituents in that regard.
Minister Renfred Wells, who has responsibility for the General Post Office, has said government hopes to relocate the GPO by December 15th. The BPSU president said they will be reviewing the proposed site in order to provide feedback ahead of the move.
Tentatively, Thursday morning, at some point, we are going to be able to take a look at the facility. He assured us that whatever the concerns are with regards to renovations, we are to make a note during that tour and convey the same to him, and those concerns would be addressed.
The plan is to use the prior administration's proposal for Town Center Mall as the blueprint for those renovations. The 5-year lease agreement will be debated in the House of Assembly. Noting that this is only a temporary site for the post office, Ferguson urged government to begin identifying a permanent location sooner than later. Reporting for our News, I'm Jillian Gray.
All right, thanks, Jillian. Well, 3 American men were arraigned in the magistrate's court today on fraud-related charges. 36-year-old Nicholas Congleton of North Lago, Florida in the black shirt, 46-year-old Jonathan Bergen of City Ridge Manor, Florida in the white shirt, and 38-year-old Christopher Bodiger of Tampa, Florida in the green shirt were each charged with 1 count of possession of a forged document. It is alleged that on Tuesday, October 16th, they were found in possession of a counterfeit Ocean Club Estates card. The 3 men pleaded guilty and will return to court on November 5th. Well, a double shooting left 1 man dead and another in serious condition last night. Police say one of the victims is known to them. Jasmine Brown has the details.
The deadly incident unfolded on Dorset Alley off West Street just before 10 last night. Head of the Central Detective Unit Chief Superintendent Solomon Cash explained what police found after they arrived.
Police responded to gunshot reports here at Dorset Street off West Street. Once the officers arrived on the scene, they met two victims, one who was shot multiple times and appeared unresponsive. The second male suffered gunshot injuries. EMS was called into the scene. They transported the male victim who was shot and the lower portion of his body to A&E for medical attention.
The second man is in hospital listed in serious condition. Police believe a lone gunman was responsible for the deadly encounter.
The only information we are working with is that shortly before 10 p.m. tonight, both victims, they just pulled up on a small moped motorcycle when they were accosted by a lone gunman who opened fire on both males, subsequently shooting both victims.
Cash said the gunman fled the area immediately after the shooting. At the scene last night, heavily armed police officers were seen scouring the area as members of the community looked on at the blood-stained street. At one point, officers carrying high-powered weapons ran into the crowd as shocked onlookers scrambled to get out of the way. A police van also carried a scooter away from the scene moments before a young man was seen handcuffed and loaded into a police SUV. Police have not said if the man was taken into custody in connection with the shooting. Though authorities have not yet determined a motive for the murder, they say the victim is known to police. They are asking anyone with information to contact them.
I want to appeal to members of the public, particularly persons who live in this area or persons who may have been passing the area at the time of this incident, to contact the police if they have any information at 911, 919 or the Central Detective Unit at 502-9991 or 2.
Authorities have said crime is trending down, with murders also down when compared to this period last year. Reporting for our News, I'm Jasmine Brown.
Thanks, Jasmine. Still to come, the PLP pursuing mostly first-time candidates ahead of the next election, plus why the former financial secretary is suing the government. Stay tuned.